Wow.
So yesterday the depth chart was released. Before I mention what I think it looks like at running back, temperature of the fan base. Was it a good thing or a bad thing that there were 4 oars, or there's wee backs yesterday?
There are several wee backs.
Because I will spin this in a certain way, but
Okay.
I'm just curious if you felt negativity or okay.
I was sensing
And if
more
you did
of
in that voice, okay.
I sense more of the okay. For the fact, I think in other years that would make you a little bit more squeamish.
What are other years? Because I'm going to debunk something.
Years
here.
where
let's no, we're going to have a reality check on the show. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes you pay for your past sins. We all do that, even if you're Catholic, like myself. I thought you could go and long story. But sometimes you pay for your past sins, and you try and while you're making up for them, you've got to actually do the job. Nebraska is in a situation in 2024 where bad luck, injuries, poor evaluation, recruiting, development, all that stuff is going to impact them at 2 particular positions, running back and offensive tackle. And you just hope that you got to stay healthy, but it's not maybe your fault. Maybe it kind of is, but it's coming to roost. I like that word.
The chickens are.
That's a shout out to my grandpa. I used to use that word all the time. So I'm going to say in this case, where Nebraska, which was known for their eye backs, it has been few and far between that Nebraska has had a big-time home run hitter at running back. We've thought they were coming into the mix, and then something happens. That's why I was so enamored last recruiting cycle with Kawan Lacey, because I thought Kawan Lacey was that guy. Did not work out. They are few and far between at running back right now at Nebraska. So I'm not surprised that nobody has separated themselves, and I'll spin it in a good way, is that they have options and they have depth. You might say, well, you don't have a number 1 or a number 2. You got 4 guys. You have one certain situational guy, and then you have 3 guys battling it out. I think Emmett Johnson is the number 1 running back. But by the time this 3-week tryout is done, Dowdell will be your number 1 running back at Nebraska.
Okay. Now, I will even take that a step further as far as why I don't think it is the worst thing with it. And it was more of because in previous years when you've had, and I think maybe one of the better examples would be Gabe Irvin's freshman year when, remember, Marquise Stepp was here as well. Then he had the ankle issue during spring, so there was a setback there, and it became a revolving door between injuries and guys that just could not take the position over. Remember, I think at that point, quarterback-wise, people essentially knew what Adrian could and could not do with not only his abilities, but the weapons around him. I feel like if you are convinced that Dylan Raiola is an upgrade at the quarterback position and the wide receiving group is an upgrade that you do not look at. You do not look at the running back with so much, oh my God, why is there not a lockstep number 1 that can turn the 4-yard gain into an 80-yard gain like Matt Rule wants?
I'm going to go back. The 2 things you said are givens. The wide receiver room is the most upgraded position that Nebraska has. Okay. Quarterback, the guy yesterday is giddy. So I just want to, you shouldn't be, that's a given. That shouldn't be. If you're thinking that what you just said, those 2 are givens.
I would like to think that's the case, but I know there are still people that are, because of Nebraska football, not necessarily the quarterback position itself, but Nebraska football. And how bad the quarterback position was, that some people, not myself, are having a tough time going all in on the true freshman year of Dylan Raiola will, be so much more monumental that you do need maybe that added support with a, marquee running back. I think that does change the basic narrative though, or at least the majority of the fan bases ease on not having a number 1 running back emerge out of it because of what you have at Q and what you have at wide receiver.
I don't know why anybody's hesitant about Raiola.
I don't either, but I keep hearing this when I talk to people so you think think a true freshman is ready for that? Yeah, I do.
Okay. Let me have a moment here. And it's not me. Did you listen to the man wearing wristbands in El Paso, Texas yesterday?
Yes.
Which I'll be very disappointed if Scotty Walsh is not on the sidelines and he doesn't have his wristbands on. Because he must have just come from the practice field. Mm-hmm. That must be a system they have.
Yeah.
But I as he was talking about Nebraska and the quarterback, mm-hmm. I couldn't get over the wristbands. Here's a guy who went out of his way to praise a player who hasn't played a college football game. Right. And all he has seen is a spring game.
Yep.
Okay? And Dylan is a better quarterback than he was back at the end of April. Mm-hmm. That is a given for anybody that has seen the last month. So if an opposing coach is talking about a true freshman, and I don't need Superman this year. Superman's probably got to show up next year. I just need a guy that is built for this moment, that is older than you think, mm-hmm. and you got a head coach who, why don't we believe, and I'm not singling you out, but there's a lot of stuff when Rhule talks, you go, oh yeah, mm-hmm. oh yeah.
Yep.
The man is downright giddy about his quarterback, who is an emerging star. Nebraska football hasn't had a true star in a long time. They got a guy that is a potential star at quarterback, and the head coach is giddy about him. Mm-hmm. But he says it in a manner that he doesn't go over the top. We'll believe in other things about Rhule,
that's a good point. No,
but we don't believe when he is giddy and he talks about his quarterback the way he does. We're like, I don't know. Stop.
So I said this last week, same premise of, I understand in the past. This is where you got to put that argument, the whole past.
We got to stop
this. I
this.
agree. I totally agree.
We've all been burned. Okay, we've all been kicked in the gut. You know what? Our cod piece is gone now. We're raw.
I totally agree with what you're saying.
At some point, you have to accept the fact that Nebraska looks different. And I'm not saying do it before the game. Mm-hmm. You might, and I've said it might not be until Columbus is the game where I go, Nebraska's different. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you got to change that mindset. And if this is on you. You've got ears, you got eyes. There's a vibe that is different. Okay, what is that going to mean in the upcoming season? Who the hell knows? But the vibe is different, that it doesn't feel like the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
I essentially said the exact same thing. We have to get over that. You have to get over. You
have to accept that Nebraska football might be turning the corner.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say that.
And the fact that
put yourself out there and be raw again.
Agreed. Everything you're saying, because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when I don't. It's almost as if you have to defend Dylan Raiola because of the past at that position that he had nothing to do with. And look, we all have, whether it's Nebraska, other teams that we root so passionately for, and we've been burned by them. So when something seems too good to be true, we assume that it's not. Hey, I've been victim
Nebraska
of that.
Football can have good things, people.
Yes, they can. Exactly. Okay, 100%. That's exactly what my point was last week of it's okay to go all in on Dylan Raiola. It's okay. I get it. He's a freshman. Okay, I get that. But he is brought up differently. He has been primed for this moment. And because I was going off of what Matt Rhule said last week when this is the first step, and I think, what did he say? A beautiful path or a beautiful relationship. He used the word beautiful. That I think that there is no problem in holding this true freshman to much higher standards than what you have seen for anybody who has played that position based on what your eyes tell you, what you hear around him, but also the path leading up to this for this moment for him. It's okay. That doesn't mean he's going to be perfect every game out. As long as you understand, there's going to be some things here and there. But at the end of the day, when you watch that position with him at the helm, how much different and more functional does it look? I think you're going to like that. And it's okay to embrace that part of it because that is a major key to success this season. And that is why a lot of people are high on him. It's not just, well, at some point, Nebraska's got to turn the corner and they've got to be a 7 or 8 win team. No, if you just pay attention, it's okay to go all in on Dylan Raiola. There's no problem with that. It doesn't mean that you're drinking the Kool-Aid and you're this delusional fan. That's where I think people are like, well, I don't want to be the delusional fan anymore.
So I got this discussion yesterday about hype. everybody is their own man and woman. Okay, you can make your own decision. If something is real, is it hype?
No.
Okay.
It's not hype. It's the reality. Real is a reality. That's not hype.
I get it.
That's not
I
hype.
get it. The media here, locally and nationally, we have been at times far off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, far off. And we have built the hype. But isn't there a difference this year? Is that it is a coach-led hype.
Yes.
And it has been consistent for a while now on their message and how they feel about this football team. Nobody down there is saying out loud, hey, this is a playoff team. They have used the word, this is a very, very good football team.
Right.
That has to learn how to win in games that matter to be great. But you can listen to the media and you can scoff, because I think for the most part, local media compared to national media have still been pretty reserved.
Mm-hmm.
But take us out of the mix. This has been a coach conversation for a while.
Yes.
Coach hype compared to media hype. And then go a step further. And I know what I'm going to get. Have you not seen the previous coaches here and what they've said? Is your trust level not different with the current head coach compared to the previous head coaches?
Mm-hmm.
If you can answer that question, then you can believe what they're saying and go, if he sees something, then it's got to be different. But also, people are smart enough to use their eyes and their ears and make your own determination. And if you have seen Nebraska practice in the last month or even in the spring game, does it feel the same or does it feel different?
Feels
Does
different.
it feel like they're turning a corner?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
And
with they got to keep charging the Tesla because they got a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But at least there are wheels on the Tesla and it hums.
Yeah.
Okay, and it drives. Okay, compared to where it was missing a wheel and you found it on the side of the road and it was jacked up and there was nobody inside of the car and it had the state patrol yellow tape around it.
It said honky lips on the side.
they do that to a Tesla?
I don't know, maybe. But okay, and I would also even go with this, because you're right about the national media. This is not us driving this point home in what is a hollow point about Nebraska right now. From the national exposure, the national hype, and I know a lot of people have compared it to 2019 when there was national hype about that, and there was. But this is also what I find interesting about the national praise for Nebraska being one of those teams that could have a breakout year, because national people do not want to trust Nebraska at all. They've been burned so many times doing that. And you'll see that in everyone's write-up. They're like, I've done this before, but this time I feel it's different. You think those people want to continue to get burned by the Big Red when it comes to that as well? It's one thing that when we're seeing this day in and day out, but they are also using their sources, talking to their connections. They're going to practices. They're hearing from people as well. They know what Dylan Reiler really meant. They've talked to Kirby Smart. They've talked to Georgia. They know what Georgia lost out of that. They know what Ohio State lost out of that as well. This is a prediction, a forecast for Nebraska football that, in my opinion, from the national standpoint, is a little bit more interesting because of the fact that there are a lot of people who don't want to believe that, or don't feel like they can't trust Nebraska, yet they still are trusting them.
You say nationally?
Nationally. I know two people in particular that I've talked to specifically. Okay. One is a Vegas insider, and his name is Scott Spreitzer.
Okay.
He's always said, and anytime he doesn't usually get into the season predictions, but as far as the win totals, whether he's going to the over or under, he's usually very cautious on the under when that number has either been 8 or 7. And I remember him saying, it's just a trust factor with this team. I can't do it because I've done it before. And so he would always yield on the under until he saw it. I know he is hitting the over on Nebraska's win total this year. Hearing from one of the college football with not Athlon. College football news. Same thing. Is there's just something about trusting Nebraska that is always a slippery slope lately, because you feel like a lot of stuff gets drummed up about them and they win the offseason, which we all know, but what they return, what they have at quarterback, it's hard to imagine that this is not a major step
That's
forward.
why I'm so excited about this year, because there are no more excuses, okay? If you fail this year, you look in the mirror and that's your fault, all right? You have learned from your lessons last year, You have pieces to be successful. Now it's all on you. It's not about what has happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. It's all about this year. That's why I'm excited about this year to watch this unfold, because it's been very rare that you could go, well, no, Rule has done a really good job of turning it all on himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Nebraska is not successful this year, the only person to blame is the guy that looks in the mirror.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of for that. I want to see how this all unfolds.
Yeah.
But this is the year where you change the word hype into reality, because real programs don't have, well, it's just hype. Okay. Nobody says, well, Georgia's just hype.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even kind of for a bit at a place like Iowa.
Yeah.
And I go, well, it's hype. No, it's been reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's their identity.
So that's the turning point of this year is we get to the point where you can retire the word hype, and now it becomes reality. And it can be good reality, it can be great reality, it can be okay reality.
Mm-hmm.